At North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. They had a lot to say. Take a look. How many of you are excited about the 2020 election? It's like barely up, barely up.
I think I'm very excited to see Trump out of the White House, but I'm also not super duper enthusiastic about what I'm seeing from all of the Democratic candidates right now. Right now, with Biden leading a lot of the polls, I'm kind of scared.
Yeah, I really second what Scott just said, that there hasn't been a Democratic candidate yet who's really brought out a lot of enthusiasm for me. So I'm, very much excited to see Trump go. I do not want that man to serve another term as president of the United States. I don't believe he represents the values of this country. However, there hasn't been a Democratic candidate that's really energized me, and I believe other young people just yet.
We have 3,000 Democrats running.
And there's way too many.
You said not one of them? You can't find one you like?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. They're all kind of talking in circles, I believe.
I'm pumped to vote for President Trump. I think that he does appeal to the young conservative because the #1 issue facing college students after we graduate, we need a workforce to go into. And a strong economy with lower taxes, with more money in our pockets, being able to actually achieve the American dream with a strong economy is our #1 issue.
As I see it now, there's no viable option for a young, reform-minded conservative like myself.
Is that because Trump doesn't appeal to you?
No, he hasn't appealed for me since the start. It's been really difficult to see the way in which the Republican Party has suffered under his leadership.
I think I'm open to voting for President Trump, but only on the condition, really, that the Democratic base can't get a reasonable moderate candidate out. On the third debate stage, I think really it's Joe Biden. That's a voice for moderation. Most others are trying to outcompete each other on who can be more progressive on what, in my view.
Vice President Biden just isn't that person. He aligns so moderately and trying to strike down the middle and almost sounds like a borderline Republican. There was a joke on Twitter the other night that he was the best Republican on the Democratic debate stage.
What has Trump done that's made you so mad?
This man has a history of racism long before his time as a politician. Even during his time as a real estate developer in New York City, he's made some very misogynist and racist remarks that I definitely feel, are not things I can agree with or would like to see in the White House.
How does that make you feel when you hear that the President of the United States is racist?
I mean, I think it's a tactic used by the left when they run out of options for debate, or if they think they're losing. I think they just call you or label you a racist.
I see President Trump's policies as racist. His administration is enacting racist policies.
Like what?
Like trying to build a border wall on our southern border that is disproportionately going to hurt people who do not look like you and me.
I think that a strong, stronger border and better immigration policy isn't in itself racist. I think that we have a border as of now, and fixing the areas that are broken along our southern border are very important.
But the problem is that the president has used this rhetoric that is inflammatory. It's frankly embarrassing for reasonable Americans who think that we need to enforce our borders. The wall, I think it does have racist connotations behind it.
I completely agree with what you've just said. But this is where I want to outline what the problem is, specifically on the Democratic side. What was it? 8 of the 10 people raised their hands when they said they wanted to decriminalize border crossings. And it is problematic in the sense that no one should be thrown 6 months in federal prison and then be forced to pay a fine just because they crossed the border illegally. But at the same time, it is a crime to cross the border illegally.
Were y'all all born in the United States?
Were you?
I was not born in the United States. I'm from Guatemala, and so I have to pay very close attention to federal law every day.
So you were adopted by American citizens. You're born in Guatemala. Is that right? And at one point, your parents had to sit you down and talk to you about what might happen if there was a raid. Is that right?
Yeah. So the increase in ICE raids was crazy. I would see on social media, "Be careful, ICE is here," almost all of the time. And so just going somewhere could be terrifying because, yes, I'm a United States citizen, but they will try so hard to get me just because I'm brown. And so I have to remember what to say, that I'm here legally, and pray to God that they'll listen.
You can reconcile these two desires, right? The desire to have borders and also treat people well within those borders. It requires moderation in terms of rhetoric, which is not something that we're seeing today, I think, on either side.
Free college. I would imagine if I was in college, free college would sound great.
I'd take it.
You wouldn't turn it down. What's wrong with free college?
I think.
You had free high school.
Well, no, our taxes went towards that.
Well, so that's fine. So okay, but seriously, here's the deal. Help me understand. I so much want to talk to somebody about this.
Okay.
Do you think free college is socialism?
I think it's towards socialism.
Public 5th grade is not socialism. Public 12th grade is not socialism. But public 13th grade is communism. Help me understand that.
I'd like to jump in. Higher education, particularly at college, is highly regressive as an institution. So something like 10% of all college graduates actually come from the bottom quartile of income. So when we're talking about making something like this free, I think Americans need to understand that who's actually benefiting here. Right? And very often it's the middle class, middle upper class, and the upper class. Elizabeth Warren has done a good job of addressing this somewhat and saying that, okay, well, these policies may cap at the top 5% and that sort of thing. There's nuance to this. The problem starts earlier. We have to address systemic inequalities in education before college, because very often these inequities, they accumulate. And then by the time people reach college, it's too late.
Couldn't somebody make the argument that because college is so expensive, that's why rich people go?
I would say that exactly what you said. The rich people are already going to college because it's an option for them. There's so many people in this country that the place that they're raised in, the economic situation they're raised in, it's never even something they consider because they know it's way too expensive. How much is tuition at your university?
Something like $76K.
Yeah, when it's one of the top universities in the world. Duke is one of the top universities in the world, but it's $76,000 a year.
Right.
Now, I go to a state university where it's a lot cheaper. There's it's a lot, like my tuition I think is like $5,000 a semester tuition-wise. But I know people personally who have had to drop out, not because they didn't want to, but because they had to go work, because they literally could not afford their tuition. And that is why so many people are dropping out. That is why there's so many pressures. Young people in college pressures should be graduating with good academics. It shouldn't be, how can I afford my tuition bill?
So I think we're only talking about a traditional four-year college as the only option, where it's not. I think we need to destigmatize vocational trade schools,
I agree.
Two-year universities, because they are very good options, and they have graduation rates with people who go straight into the workforce with have a living wage. So I think that instead of trying to figure out how we're going to raise everyone's taxes and pay everyone's debts, I think we need to destigmatize these different universities, different options for people so that they can go and be able to have a successful life through that way.
So there's a lot of dialogue, debate, discussion internal to this generation. It's really passionate. It's really inspiring. When you hear us talking about the young voter, when you hear us talking about young people, Gen Z, what are we getting wrong?
I think they're just looking to score us, to win our votes, to pander to us. I think they're treating us like children, and it's time they wake up. I think people have quoted us the largest voting eligible population for the 2020 election, as well as possibly the highest turnout. And I think it's time that we are brought to the table with both sides with our ideas.
Yeah. I finally agree with you on something. I wholeheartely agree with that. Far too often young people are just considered, the future of this country, but not as present, active members and participants in our democracy. It's very seldom or very rare that we're consulted in political campaigns or that we're engaged by our city council members or our governors or our federal representatives. And it's time for that to change.
We're treated as children and, oh, they're young, they're going to understand one day. And being told that constantly is ridiculous. We're able to vote and stop trying to use us as a photo op, like listen to us and actually sit down and have a conversation and not try and steer us into a certain way of thinking.
I'd simply say get ready for change. Like, we're going to change things. Like, we're going to make change happen. We're going to further the progression of American history. We're going to keep progressing. We're going to keep expanding. That's what's going to happen, and get ready for it.
Look, as you can see, the country's young people, they're smart, they want to be heard. They're also leading some of the most important issues and causes around the world. When we come back, you're going to hear from 3 young activists who are leading the fight to save our planet. What is their message to us grown folks?